I'm Dennis Belcher, and I want to welcome you and say thank you to you. Ernie, and I would say thank you to you, and to you, and to you, and you, and to all of you. The reason that I'm thanking you is that you are the future of the next generation of woodturners. You know, the woodturning community is...
Yeah, I think I'm... Yeah, I was going to say...
No, the teachers of the next generation, okay? Thank you for that correction. You know, it's really amazing, the community of woodturning, you know, where do people learn how to turn? It's from other woodturners. And we spend hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours teaching people how to use their tools, how to read the wood, and all these little things about woodturning. And what don't we do? We never teach the teachers on how to give a good demonstration. And that's what we're up to this afternoon. So I thank you, because you really are the teachers of the next generation that will continue the woodturning community, and you are really important. Now, the goals today is a couple things. One thing is for new demonstrators to give you the confidence to actually step forward and give your first demonstration. Those of you that have given a few demonstrations, it's going to make you better. And for your experienced demonstrators, I'm going to challenge you in ways to think about how you demonstrate that you haven't thought of before. Okay? Now, there's really two secrets, or one and a half, to giving a good demonstration. And, you know, it really comes down to things that we don't think about. But the first thing that you need to be a good demonstrator is competency in whatever you're demonstrating. And I don't care whether it's simple like a duck call, or it's a more complex, multi-axis, you know, stuck together. I don't care what it is. You got to be competent at it. So don't tackle something that's complicated. Tackles, you know, that's very important that you know how to do that, because if your tongue gets tied, you got to be, and what did I just do? What you were going to see is a whole bunch of techniques to engage with the audience. And I did that unconsciously because my tongue got tied. I got you engaged, didn't I? Because once you have competency, the next thing you need is skills to engage your audience, to bring them in. All right? If you get those two things down, guess what? You're an excellent demonstrator. That's what we're going to work on. Now, let's go back to competency. You got to do them. You got to make them. You got to practice it. You got to be good at it. You got to be able to handle unexpected things like I had to this afternoon. You know, hey, Robert, round of applause for Robert. What did I just do? Yeah. Okay, where was I? Totally lost me. Guys, so competency and engagement. Let's go back to competency. Oh, there's a human characteristic called overestimation of ability. If I ask this room, how many of you are above average drivers? The only thing I'll guarantee you is it won't be half and half. It's a normal thing for us to always think that we are better than we actually are. Now, that can get dangerous as a demonstrator because you are the teachers of the next generation of woodturners. If you use bad practices, they're going to follow you. All right? So I made this mistake already. A lot of what I'm telling you is mistakes that I have made and learned from. Normally, people will overestimate their own ability, including me. So what do you do about it? Well, you make sure that you're vetted. You know, go ahead and record your demonstration. Have another master turner or two in your club view it. And what he should be viewing is he teaching safe wood turning practices? Is he reasonably decent at engaging his audience? Because it's normal for us to think we're better than we are. And as a club has a responsibility not to let unsafe practices be taught. I've made that mistake. I taught my club how to do this, and I go, oh my God, what did I do? I hadn't realized that we have a tendency to overestimate our own skill. So take back to your club, vet your demonstrators. Engagement. Would you like to spend the next 10 minutes hearing from me while I'm entitled to be up here talking to you about this? Or should we spend that time talking about skills to make you better? Which should I do? Do you want to be better or do you want to hear about me? Show of hands. Which way? Me? Better. Yeah. Okay. This is really important. It isn't about me. I mean, I'm a good turner. I'm a masterful. It doesn't make any difference because what's important is what your audience comes away with. So as you get to engagement, you got to think about it's not about you. I don't care how good your piece is because somebody always has got one better, but his is better yet. And hers gets the grand prize. Right? It's about your audience. Competency and engagement. Now, how many people, after you've given a demonstration, how many people will actually go home and make it? What do you think? 5%, 10%, none, right?
I'd say about 5%.
But all those people paid their dues to the club. And you really want them to come back to the club, right? So when you talk about engagement, are we talking about engagement or are we talking about entertainment? You know, there's a blurring of that line. You want them to go home to feel like they have gotten their money's worth regardless of whether they make the project or not. Make sense? Competency, engagement. Now, I got to tell you that this is too much to cover today. I can't get it through all of it. If I had my druthers, this would be a full 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. I can't get it done. And I certainly can't get it done in 90 minutes. So what I've done is I've gone through and made some hard decisions and cut stuff out. Stuff that you really need to hear. To compensate for that, I spent time making videos on those specific topics that are on my website, DennisBelcher.com. Under handouts, demo skills, it's there. And you're going to find things that deal with, can your audience hear you? A checklist for demonstration day, the day of the demonstration. Specific techniques for new turners. Your first demonstration, there are ways to take a lot of the anxiety out of it. There's a separate 10-minute video in there on that topic. So go to my website, go to handouts, go to demo skills, all right, or to my YouTube channel. It's both written and in video form there. Okay, finding your own style. You're going to see my style up here today. And one of the mistakes you can make is to try to go home and duplicate who I am. It's not natural. So what I would suggest that you do instead is when you watch a wood turning demonstration, watch it on 2 levels. You know, watch what's being made, but also watch the demonstrator. And when you see that demonstrator use demo techniques that make sense to you and feel natural to you, adopt them. When he makes mistakes, note the mistakes he made in the demonstration. Now, the last demonstrator in here ran over. You got that? And I'm going, he should know better than that. Right? So I make that as a lesson that I have learned. And how do you learn all this stuff? Well, the way you learn it is you watch demonstrations on 2 different levels. And you pick up and take with you those things that are natural to you and your personality. That is how you become an excellent demonstrator. There's a lot of different ways to get there. Now, I think about Trent Bosch. Everybody see Trent? Oh, excellent demonstrator, right? He talks fast. He covers a lot because he got all this information to cover. He uses he's really excellent. And then there's Al Sturt. Al doesn't talk much, and he always wears a face shield, and he doesn't talk when the face shield's down. But you know what he does? He has streams of shaving that come off of that lathe. So he becomes an excellent demonstrator in a totally different way. There's not a right or wrong. It's finding your own natural style. I'm not going to teach you how to talk. I'm not going to teach you how to give a speech, because most of us have already done that earlier in our lives, somehow, some shape, some way. But I am going to remind you about two important characteristics. The first is to eye contact. I don't know what it is about the brain, but if I'm looking at somebody, guess what they can't do? They can't fall asleep. It's true. Now, okay, what did I just do? What did I just do? I cracked a joke on topic, got you all engaged again. It was a point of engagement. There's another thing that happens with the mind, and that is that the mind follows motion. So if I'm making eye contact and I'm moving, I got you. I'm in there. You're remembering, right? Eye contact, motion. Now, motion can come in a whole bunch of different ways. What's natural for me, I get nervous. I really do. And for years, I tried to suppress it. And I finally realized that was wrong. It didn't work. So instead, I do this. So I am allowing my own body to work through the nervousness that I feel. And oh, by the way, I'm engaging everybody. One of the topics that will be covered is questions from the audience, because it is really a problem for a demonstrator. So let me come back to you on that, okay? There's a trap that we all have. And that trap is, I've been speaking to groups for 30 years. I know it all. What's he got to tell me? Right? Anybody out there got that sense? All right? Well, I've been talking to people for 65 years. And I'm going to tell you, it's changed. In the old days, most of my business career, you go up on the stage, there's a podium, and there's a microphone, and you grab hold of the podium, right? And you got your notes, or you got your PowerPoint, right? But a woodturning demonstration isn't a speech. It's closer to a play. So you have to think about where your movements are. You don't have to be chained to a lathe. Movement is good. And to help emphasize that point, I want you all to take a picture of that. Because that's a broken chain. You don't have to be chained to the lathe. This is a play. This isn't a speech. Okay, now, enough of all that stuff. Let's get down to the basics. How do you plan a demonstration? Well, it starts with you got to know what equipment you're going to have. So you got to know whether it's a 1/8 or a 1 1/4 8. You got to know if they got the chuck. You got to bring the chuck. You got to know all that. On the website, under the handouts, there's an engagement sheet for live demonstrations. And part of that is you will detail and write down exactly what equipment they are going to provide and you have to deal with. There's a second one in there for remote demonstrations. Download both of them, take them back to your club, share them with your club. They're copyrighted. You can send me $1 later. Okay, now, the second thing is to give the demonstration. You know, sit down and take a piece of paper, a yellow pad, and write down all the steps there are in making that project, whatever it is. Then take your notes, go to the lathe or the carving station or whatever it is, and follow your notes and make one. And you know what you're going to find? You missed something. That's the way it is. All right? So you go back and you get your script work out. Now the next, pardon? What was that? That was getting my attention. Well, you succeeded. All right, now, once we got the script worked out, come in with me, Sam. We're going to take a second pass. And you are going to identify in your script every single point of danger. I can break the finial, right? It can come out of the lathe. And you're going to mark that with a specific color. I like the color. It helps me understand and keep stuff straight. The next pass, you're going to go through your script and say, what part of this is slow? Where am I going to lose people because I'm boring? I'm drilling, right? Drilling is boring. So can you pre-drill something? Roughing out a bowl is slow. It starts slow. It starts slow. So can you actually start it, take it out, put a second piece in, and finish the rough out so that you can keep the speed up? Because part of it is keeping the speed up because you can keep people engaged. If you're slow spots, you lose people. If you're doing a demonstration and you see people pull out their cell phone and they're flipping through things, what's that tell you? Yeah, you lost them. You're doing something wrong, guys. Now, if they're taking pictures, that's okay. That's a sign of engagement. Thank you, sir. We planned that beforehand. Okay, danger points, slow points. Next one is, where's my camera? So I'm going to take this bowl, right? And it's mounted up here on the lathe, and I'm going to do some carving around the rim. And I start carving away, carving away. Can my camera see it? Can my camera see it? No. What do I need to do? I need to move it up. So I do it here, and now my Waze cameras can see the motion. So as you go through your script, you ask yourself, what's the camera see? Because when you go to a demonstration, what do your members watch? They watch the screens, don't they? Why? The view's better. So you got to stop and think, what can the camera see at each point during the script? Now, we got all done with that, comes my favorite, which is blocking. Blocking in the simplest form comes out of the theater. And if you, did you all, anybody in here in theater in their, junior high days, yeah, they kind of encourage us to do that. And the blocking is, where are you supposed to be? Oh, I still remember that time I was supposed to be on stage with an entrance, and I missed it. I don't know. Anyway, you don't need to go there. Yes, you got it. You remember too. Blocking. Where are your feet when? And what is the stage like as part of blocking that we need to deal with? But as you're working through your script, you're marking where am I going to be when. The final pass, this is the sixth pass, right, is points of engagement. I mean, you actually work through your script and say, where am I going to have a point of engagement? Where am I going to ask for questions? Tell a joke? Where am I going to pull out my billfold and throw a $10 bill? Oh, I don't have any tens. You got any tens? Crumple it up and throw it into the, whatever it is, you pre-plan your points of engagement. Now, it doesn't have to be funny. It should be on topic, preferably. But you have to pre-plan and think about, in this pass, your points of engagement, and you write that on your script. Now, the nice thing about your script, it also becomes a basis for your handout. People can't remember all this. They can't, right? So it's very important that you have handouts. That takes you to the next level. And we'll come back around to that. 6 passes. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what this looks like. All right? This is what we're talking about. That's an actual page out of this demonstration as I work through it, thinking about each of the 6 topics that I need to deal with. And I like the color, but you don't have to use the color. The key point is what your mind does as you do this. All right? Let's just set that right here. See how that stays up. Here's where we start. This is what I'm going to make. Duh. You start with, this is what I'm going to make. Then you say, this is the wood I'm going to make it out of. Now, this is an interesting point. I had one person who'd heard this demonstration reach out to me, and he said, you need to talk about the wood. Because we have a tendency in a demonstration, you're making a demo piece, they turn out okay, but not great, typically. So you don't want to use your good wood. Well, the problem is you get up here and you're turning, and all of a sudden you got some funky wood, and you got a problem. So when you do a demonstration live, maybe not your practice ones, but the live demonstration, use some decent wood. Some wood that's not going to reach out and bite you. Okay. Oh, hollowing. Slow point. So I'm going to make this hollow form. And I get the outside all done, and I start to hollow out, and I show them how I start, and I'm going to make this a 1/4 inch thickness all the way down the 8 inches. What does your audience see? Nothing. So what you should do is you start the hollowing so that they understand the beginning. You go to the whiteboard, and you draw what you're doing. Or you take a finished hollow form, and you've cut it in half. So you start your opening, and you switch to the hollow form cut in half, and you say, this is what it looks like when we're done. Now you could go a little bit further and have a couple of different ones at each stage of the hollowing. That's up to you all, okay? But nevertheless, I've speeded it up, and I've allowed the audience to actually understand what's going on. Gluing, you don't glue. Keep it moving. Blocking. Part of blocking is stage setup. So let's deal with that for a minute. This is the table that I'm going to use to put all my stuff on that I'm going to use in the demonstration. My tools go there, the extra blanks go there. Now, I know it's a garbage can upside down, but picture it as your table. The question is, where should the table go? Should the table with all your tools on it be out here in front of the lathe? Of course not, right? Should it be back here, behind the lathe? Should it be here at the headstock? Should it be here at the tailstock? Or should it be at right angles to the lathe? Most important thing is speed. I don't want to slow things down. I want to grab and go, grab and go. Quick, quick. Keep the tempo up. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Get the tools positioned close to you. Now, next question is, this is my table. These are my tools. How many tools should I take? I asked for junk tools. You're entitled. How many tools should I take to a demonstration? Technology today has helped us. Is you record your demonstration, your practice demonstration. And then what you do is when you're ready to pack, you start the recording. You might up the speed to 125%. And each time you pick up a tool on camera, you put it in your case. You get done with that, you haven't forgotten anything. The thing that amazes me, the better the turner, the fewer tools he uses. I don't know where that goes, but it's true, all right? All right, let's talk about the next problem, and this has come up. If you're wearing a safety helmet, safety shield, which you should do, that was a failure on my part. It should have been here. So what happens when I put the safety shield down? Yeah. Now, I found, okay, let me back into it this way. How many people in here have issues with their hearing? Okay, now look at the number of hands that went up. I mean, there's certain reality, at least a half in our age group of us have hearing issues. Now, women are blessed better. They're about a third, but that kind of makes sense. That's why my wife can never hear me. Wait, that doesn't. Okay, anyway, but if I'm turning and I have a safety shield, should I talk while I turn or stop turning and talk? Which should I do? Should I turn and talk, turn and not talk? Show of hands. Well, first way I would suggest that we resolve that is safety. Yeah, because what happens if you're talking, some of your attention goes away here. It just does. It's natural, right? So the first thing to do is be safe, and it's safer not to talk while you turn. Period. That's an absolute. Now, after you've made 100 of something, the muscle memory is pretty strong, and you're more comfortable continuing to talk while you are turning, and that's okay. But the problem is, if you're going to talk while you're turning, what are you going to say? Are you going to tell a joke, a story, or is it pertinent to what you're saying? You know, there's a lot of different graduations here, and I don't know that there's a single right answer. You have to do what's comfortable for you. Presently, my opinion is the best one is I'm going to turn, talk. Why? It's safer. Now it gets worse. So now I'm up here and I'm turning and I'm talking, and what am I looking at? And what do you think I should be doing? What have I lost? I got no eye contact. You're looking at my bald head. So if I'm going to turn and talk, but keep my eyes on where the tool is, my audience's view has been degraded. So I'm not telling you all what the absolute answer is, but where I come out presently, you're better off to turn and not talk. Okay? All right? Any questions on that? Yeah. Every club, the majority of the turners are new. I hate to say that, but that's kind of true, isn't it?
We're all there at one point.
Yeah. So you really have a responsibility to the new turners to really give explanations. So if I'm going to pick up a spindle roughing gouge, I'm going to tell them how it's sharpened. I'm going to talk about taking the edge off or not taking it off, rolling it on the, whatever every tool I explain. Okay? You're always going to have voids in a demonstration. What I mean by voids is you got a slow spot. I got to put a chuck on. I got something up here in the chuck. So you need to plan on filling those voids. What do you fill them with? Well, questions is good. Any questions now? Okay. It's also okay to tell jokes. If you talk about yourself, better be teeny, because you guys already told me that you don't want to hear about me. You want to use that time learning stuff to help you. But a great source of jokes is here, dad jokes. Where do you go to learn to make ice cream? A Sunday school. Who was the roundest knight at King Arthur's round table? Well done. The point is, humor is a very dangerous thing. Most humor makes fun of yourself or somebody else, and you really just not appropriate. The dad jokes, what they do is they make fun of the language. And so you don't offend people. But you got to be careful about that. So have a few dad jokes in your head, like Confucius say, man who run behind car get exhausted. Man who run in front of car get tired. All right, so, but I can fill a switchover point, right? So have some in your head and use as needed. Don't get carried away with it. Don't disparage yourself. Don't disparage anyone else. One of the big changes in speaking is technology, is the availability of cameras. And you all have a camera in your pocket. You know, and you got a couple more at home on your computer. You know, you might have a camcorder. You might have a USB camera. They're all great tools to help us. But what you do is you record your demonstration. You get it vetted by playing it to somebody else within your club who is an experienced, safe turner. Then you start to get really some benefits from it because you can deal with timing. So in the old days, what I'd have to do is have somebody in the audience when I gave a new demonstration, and I'd have him with a script, and each time I changed topics, he'd write down what the time is, because then I could go back and I could figure out, I got to cut out 5 minutes, where am I going to cut it? So I had to have a sense of timing to be able to go back in and trim up the demonstration. Today, you don't have to do that. Today, you can record it yourself, go back and watch the timestamps. so that you can get your time appropriate. What is the most difficult part of a demonstration? Say it again. Ending on time. Sam, you want to get a close-up on that? And this is a $12 clock. Now, it's interesting. It's an analog clock. It's got the hands that go round. I got 55 minutes left. Younger generation like the digital clocks. My mind reacts better with the analog clock. And where's it set? Right there. Now, if you have a good cameraman like I do, I got two of them actually. That's the room wizard, and that's the cameraman. They're going to tell me when I got 15 minutes left, when I got 20 minutes left. So they give you some feedback. So you need to know that. That's stage one. Stage two, as you put together your demonstration, you know that time is a problem. So you have to figure out ways to shorten it or to make it run longer. Now, I have a tendency to do things like, well, this is what we just made, my thumper. Now, let me tell you about variations of it. And I can go through the variations. I can talk about the finish. I can talk about refinishing it or not, depending upon how my time runs. On the wood cracks demonstration, the very end, about 20 minutes, is looking at other people's repairs to cracked pieces, which I can show or not show so I can control exactly when I end. Make sense? Technology. This is what's great. So you're up here giving this demonstration, and you're using this Continental gouge, half inch, I don't know what it is. And you're going away, and you put it down, and you talk to your audience, and you can't find a tool. Okay? I want you to all repeat after me. Every minute looking for a tool is equal to one snore. You ready? Every minute looking for a tool is equal to one snore. That was another demonstration technique. You got that? Engagement technique. But the answer to that question is ask your audience. Because what happens is you are up here, you're thinking away as fast as you can. Sometimes you just can't remember it all. But you know who's been watching it? You have. Where's that tool? Right? See, he knew. Ask your audience. Okay? All right, now we're going to keep going here for a minute. Right now I'm speaking from the lathe, and I'm using the lathe as a podium. But what happens if I come out from behind the lathe and I sit right here? Now I'm talking to my audience, but I'm also carving, right? Or I'm doing some embellishment on a table. How does the feel change?
Yeah, a little more intimate.
If I come over here, what has just happened?
Now we want to run.
If I stand behind the lathe, I'm up. If I sit down, I'm down. If I sit on this stool, how has the feeling to the audience changed? Pardon? Say it again louder. When I'm up. When I'm sitting down. All right. Carvers. Carvers. They got a real problem because it gets even worse. They're sitting down. They're beneath your eye level, basically. Now, wait a minute. You got to go to the next one. And they're doing this. So how do you fix that? Well, the best way I've ever seen, if you're going to have, pardon? Say it again? I got that. I put makeup on. Actually, don't laugh. In IRDs, I have to because there's just too much bounce on. It really is a true story. I had to go to my wife to get lessons. The point is, carvers, what do? Well, the best thing you can do is give them a platform. So they're raised up about 8 inches. So now they're up like this. So your audience has a better shot at seeing them. I'm a little bit off topic here. Like, you know the most important man in the room right now? It's that guy right there. My cameraman. Why is he so important? Because your audience is looking at the screen. And if you have a good cameraman he's going to make you look good. If you have a poor cameraman, he's going to ruin your reputation. So Sam, I'm depending upon you. And to show my appreciation, let's all give Sam a round of applause. Sam and I talked before this symposium. I also sent him a script. I also sent him a previous recording of this demonstration. It was horrible because of camera work. I was perfect, of course. No, I learned. You keep getting better if you watch your own videos. But your cameraman really is important. So treat him with respect. Spend some time with him beforehand. Try to give him some sense of what you're going to be doing and where he needs to be with the camera. It makes a tremendous amount of difference. Do any of you folks belong to clubs that train their cameramen?
We tried.
Who said we tried? Didn't work?
Not really.
Well, that really is missing. If I'd had my druthers and give a full day clinic, what I would do is also have training for cameramen as part of that clinic. Now I'm going to read you something. Pay attention. Contrast detection autofocus is achieved by measuring contrast vision within a sensor field through the lens. The intensity difference between adjacent pixels of the sensor naturally increases with correct image focus. The optical system can thereby be adjusted until the maximal contrast is detected. Anybody understand that? Okay, you want me to translate it? Cameras have problems with shiny objects. So what happens? So now I have this tool, and here's a good shiny one, right? And I'm up here, and I got shiny ways, and the camera's coming down, and it's got shiny. Oh, and then I got the scroll chuck, and it's shiny. What does the camera do? Well, it goes out of focus a bit for the audience. So what do you do about it? Well, first thing you do about my scroll chucks all have blue tape around them. That's the first thing. Second thing is I would never show a tool over the ways. Why? Because it's shiny. What I would do is I would take the tool, I would place it on my turning, because on the turning wood, I never use a white wood. Why? Because the cameras also can have whiteout. Too much white. They don't know what to do. So darker woods are better as a demo material. Hold the shiny tool here, not over the ways. Now we get into another problem, is zoom. When you say to your cameraman, I want you to zoom in on the tip of this tool, and you go, focus on that. Well, how long does it take a camera to zoom? Well, first thing that happens is Sam has to get his hand in the right place. The next thing is the camera has to start to move. And so it really doesn't, you got to give it time. So as a demonstrator, when somebody says, when you're going to show the tip of a tool, it's here. It's across a piece of wood, so it's not moving around, right? Make sure, hey, Sam, have you zoomed in yet? Before you move on. It's the small stuff, guys. It's the small stuff. I'm going to go to some other. Now, this is where I need to have the overhead camera on, because we have to deal with this. Drawing, whiteboards, flip charts are really important. But we have a problem. If I come over here to this flip chart and I start to draw something, what does the camera see? Oh, wait a minute, I'm going to fix that. What do you see now? And I'm talking away from you, right? That's not going to work. Now, if I come over here to a whiteboard, same problem. So let's solve this problem. The way we solve this problem is right here. Right here. What I have now is I have the Waze camera, but we disconnected that. But what do you see over there? Anything? I timed out. Okay, I got to wing it here, guys. Here's the point. If you use your Waze camera to a whiteboard to cross the ways of the lathe, now I can draw, all right, and the camera sees it. So the monitors see it. Make sense? Next thing we're going to do, how many of you in here are engineers? You're cursed. Because you're precise. If you're going to make a drawing, what you do not want to do is you do not want to come in and erase it because it was sloppy. You need to make your drawings quick, right? They do not have to be precise because you're helping the brain retain information. And the quickness is more important than how fastidious your drawing is. Quick drawings, raw drawings are much better in a demonstration than engineering type drawings. Sorry about that, guys. Next thing is, we talked about carvers and the problem they have. What you see me doing here is I am using the Waze as a podium, as a table. What is it? It's a board. It's more than dark. It's textured. So it doesn't have a high reflective. How does it look on the camera, Sam? So now when I put something on that, the camera really likes that contrast. All right. Now, if I'm a carver, if you can, this is a much better place to carve from because I'm up. And perhaps you've got to bring the stool over so that you're comfortable, but guess what? I'm still up. And I got good camera angle. They can see all I'm doing. My head doesn't have to go in front of the camera. So using the lathe Waze as a table with a simple board that is colored in a non-reflective color, hopefully with a little bit of texture to it, is a great way to do it. And it's far better than the flip chart that you have to write on. Now, there is one advantage to the flip chart, which is I can rewrite stuff. I can do it beforehand and then flip it up or stick it around, right? So I can go back and refer to it, not slow things down. Make sense, everybody? Pardon? You don't know how long it took. I had to use stencil. I couldn't do it freehand. I couldn't do it. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is pointers. This is a really fancy pointer from my work days. Because, you know, these high-tech guys, they think this is great. And what I do is I press this button, I got this pointer that comes out of there. Oh, I got to turn it on first. Oh, I hope the battery's fresh. You got me so far? Now, let's see how well this pointer works. Can we see it? How's your eye react to that? What's happening? All right, let's go here. How is it now? What's wrong? You can't hold this state. The further you are away from it, the more movement you have. And it's distracting. My eye could never catch up with where a pointer like this pointed to. Now, it gets worse. If I pointed at this screen, you can see it. But this isn't the normal one. This is a fabric of some type. What really happens is when I pointed at that monitor, see what just happened? Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, this is a high-tech, it's got a USB receiver. Yeah. Yeah.
A green laser you will see.
No, same problem. Same problem. It diminishes in size.
You can see a green laser.
My cameraman's arguing with me. What should I do? I'm going to take back your paycheck. So what do you do to use a pointer? Well, you've seen me use a couple of different kinds of pointer. The first one is my hand. But you want me to use the rectangle or the round?
The round is more fancy.
Okay, the round is easier because you can go to the store and buy a 3/8 inch dowel. No big deal. And what happens is when you put this up here on the screen, am I damaging the screen? No, I'm not. I'm just wood. Do I jiggle? No, because I'm holding on to it's touching the screen. So I've stopped that problem of the jiggle. Now, you want to go high tech? Paint the end. I had this question whether red or black was better. I've decided that black is actually better. That monitor isn't on, so it doesn't show up. But actually the black, but I don't care. None. Blue, black. But it's really amazing. The low-tech stuff has its place. It's simple. I don't have to worry about remembering to turn it on. I don't have to worry about a bad battery. And I don't have to worry about the reflection off of a monitor. All right, computers and demonstrations. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So I'm going to do this demonstration at the Norfolk Club. And I said, tell me about the hookups for your AV system. She says, oh, we got them all. I said, well, have you got an HDMI system, connection? She says, yeah. I said, well, is it a regular full-size HDMI? Is it a mini HDMI connection? Or is it a micro HDMI connection? As a demonstrator, I'm coming in, and I got to know what the hookup is. And it's a real problem because this stuff keeps changing. So how do you bring computers into a demonstration with a high degree of no surprise? That becomes the question. Well, the first thing you do is you say to your club, your contact, what I want you to do is send me a picture of where the connections go. And that takes away the vocabulary problem. You can see what the HDMI is. You can see what all the other components are. Unfortunately, there's a new generation of HDMI connections coming out. And I don't remember the name, but it's a different shape. So, guys, the world keeps changing. And I could tell you horror stories about going in and thinking I got everything wired and it doesn't work. We saw some of that here now. Is I went to use this HDMI camera, it didn't work. That means that when I take my laptop and I want to hook it up to that projector, it won't work. So what do we do? Well, here's what we do as a standby. Is you turn on the computer, hope the battery's still good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my way camera and I'm going to have it directed right straight at my screen. So I'm using no connections. This is always plan B. The fidelity of the signal of the picture, it's not quite as crisp. There's some give up on it, but the reality is that the picture is okay. It really is okay. The other problem you run into is you get there and your computer doesn't work. What do you do? Well, what you always do is you also have the images you're going to use on a USB or an SD drive, so you have as a secondary backup. In my case, I have these same images that I would use in this symposium on my computer. They're also on my cell phone. They're also on an SD drive, an SD card and a USB stick, right? But I got a problem with the SD drive and the USB stick is that if I use a PowerPoint, and I've moved that PowerPoint as my backup onto my other devices, I got to have the PowerPoint program to run the images. I made that mistake. I'm ready to show the group something. I got all the PowerPoint, but I don't have the PowerPoint program. So you're really better off using File Manager like this. So I can flip through the images. I love technology. It's not changing. Okay, that's true. See, but this is the key. That's your backup. You just camera onto your screen. Next topic is safety. I will guarantee you that any unsafe turning practice you use in a demonstration, somebody in your audience as a new turner is going to take that practice and go home and hurt themselves. This isn't a place to cut corners. You have to be safe. You have to be safe. One of the things that bugs me is we all know that you're supposed to turn off your lathe before you adjust your tool rest or your banjo, right? How many times have you heard turners poo-poo that or make a joke about it? Frequently. Well, what they're not saying to people is the reason you want to turn off your lathe before you adjust your tool rest or your banjo is that banjo is on an arc. And as you go to tighten it, you're coming down that arc, and as you get to here, guess what happens? The movement naturally starts to move the banjo and force the tool rest into your work. Nobody explains the rule. So you got two different levels. Be safe, explain what safety is, and you actually makes you a much better demonstrator of for the next generation. Every time you use a tool, talk about it. Tell them how it's used, what the body stance is, how it's sharpened, what kind of steel. Always realize that half of your audience are new turners. Always. So you owe it to them to explain. As a demonstrator, having handouts is really important. In the old days, you get your handout, and you go down to Kinko's, and you say, well, I need 25 copies. And you get to the club meeting, and there's 37 people there. So you say, I'm not going to let that happen again. So the next time you give that demonstration, you say, okay, I want 75 copies. And you get to the meeting, and there's 17 people there. So there will be a video, if it turns out this time, posted on my website of this session. That's why Sam's been hired. He's getting the big bucks, because he's an experienced cameraman, which I've not had before. I also hope to have it posted on the AEW website. Here, you're going to find your first wood turning demonstration, some techniques specifically for new turners. Such things as, you don't have to turn. Take the thing that you're going to demonstrate, make it at home, take lots of pictures of each stage, and then during the demonstration, have them put the pictures up in the monitor, and you tell people what's going on in the picture. So all of a sudden, you don't have to turn and talk. The turning's already done. All you have to do is to talk, and you walk them through each step in making the project because of pictures. That's one of various techniques that's in there. Very good. Copy it, send it around to your club. It really does help. Can they hear you? I was amazed at this when I made this video. I learned a lot, actually, making the handout for you on this topic. I didn't know that 55% of people, males, 75 and older, have hearing issues. All right? It's very, very common. It really is. Now I want to go back to what you brought up, the voice in the audience. There's two sides to this question. The first thing is that he asked a question. He's talking to me. You have a hearing issue. He's looking away from you. He's talking at a volume that I can hear, but you can't hear. So the conventional wisdom is repeat the question, right? That's the why of it. Half your audience can't hear. That's why. From the standpoint of the demonstrator, I got a whole different viewpoint. You interrupted my flow. You made me forget where I was. Damn you for asking that question. You screwed me all up. We'll take that out, Sam. But it really is true. It also makes the demonstration run long because somebody is asking a question, and so you stop to answer the question, and you get back into it, but all of a sudden you've eaten up 4 or 5 minutes each time there's a question asked. So it's a real problem. It really is a problem. So what do? It even gets worse because there are like 3 different types of questions. The first question, which is a good question, is it's a question that you're going to answer in the normal flow of the demonstration within a couple of minutes, right? That's type 1, most common. The second type is, let me tell you how I do it. Oh. You've had those, huh? And then the third type, which is 1 or 2%, are actually good points, like using electrical tape on the end of that wood pointer, right? That was a good point, valid point. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind. But most of the questions are really just a pain from a demonstrator standpoint. So what do? How do you prepare yourself for that? Well, the way you do it is you have in your back pocket of your turning coat. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Go back to your demonstration. Excellent point. Glad you brought that up. Ignore him then. Go back to your demonstration. Glad you asked that. Let me come back to it. How did you know that was the next thing I was going to say? My point is, write out the answers that you're classically going to use. All right. Have them prepared in your mind, in your turning coat. Then it leaves you with the question of, let me tell you how I do it. And it runs on and on and on. Sometimes you got to be a little brutal. What you say is, thank you for sharing that with us. Now let me get back to, and you cut the guy off. I had to do that once or twice. I don't like to do that. A better way is to say, what's your name, sir? What's your name? Greg? So you take Greg and you write Greg up here on your whiteboard, right? Greg, I'll come back to you. I don't care whether you do or not. Pre-plan how you're going to respond to questions of the audience, remembering that everybody behind the questioner can't hear the question, remembering that it can be disruptive to the flow of the demonstration. Prepare for it. Or you can say at the beginning of the demonstration, it's going to run long, guys. I really hold your questions to the very end. And we'll come back to them. I'll hang around as long as it takes. But please do hold your questions because we're going to run short of time. Never argue. I am not going to argue with you. Never argue with your audience. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't argue with them. You know, I win every argument that I've ever been in. Do you know why? I never argue. It's really amazing what happens when you don't argue with somebody who wants to argue. They just don't know what to do. Anyway, off to it. Let's go. The next issue is live and remote demonstrators. Live and remote audiences. Now we're starting to get into IRDs or zooming your club demonstration out to people at home. That's a new world. You need to give some thought if you're going to have both a live audience and an away audience. You need to give some thought of how you try to reach out to those away folks and bring them in also. I don't particularly have an answer for that, but do acknowledge them, make sure that they're also included along with your audience. We talked about the tremendous benefits of recording your video. To summarize, they help you get a handle on your timing because you can go back and watch it and then figure out what you got to do to tighten it up so that you stay within the time limits. Packing. When I got 4 cases of stuff I packed, right? How am I going to remember, make sure I got every single tool and prop that I need? How do I make sure that I brought my thumper? Well, I recorded the demonstration. And as I'm packing, I got the demo playing. I got it at 125%. And then when I pick up that thumper, I grab it and I put it in the case. Then you don't forget things. This is actually running pretty well. I'm actually going to, well, let me back up. Earlier, I had a problem with my clock. It wasn't telling the correct time. Would somebody give me the time? 2 minutes?
22 minutes.
Okay. Then I'm going to do something different. I would like to know what topics that I haven't touched on that you folks would like me to try to address or to actually, going forward, add to this demonstration. Any suggestions? I'm listening. Yes, sir.
You're giving a demo, big hall, and you've got a conversation over there, here, over there. The best way to stop the conversation.
It's not your job. It's not your job. What you say to the program manager, the club president, Mike, would you go back and get rid of that disruption back there? Now, it gets a little bit worse because the other thing that happens with hearing aids, many hearing aids, and I'm not an expert on them yet, but the sound pickup's in the back. So a lot of your audience is going to hear the voice behind them better than they do the voice in front of them. Okay, does that help you? Yeah, you can't call them out. You can't do it. I don't know how. Did that make sense to you, though? Is there a pattern of that within the club?
Yes, there is, because I'm a member of his club.
All right.
Are you the troublemaker?
Well, then, if there's a pattern, you know, you got to talk to your club president, and you got to depend upon him to stop the problem.
Sitting right here.
Greg, he paid me.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Along that line, can I just offer something that I try to do when I do a demonstration?
Absolutely.
I try to politely say, please demonstrations going on, the only one in the room that should be talking is me.
Uh,
You have a question.
doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I've done that.
Well,
It
well,
doesn't work anyway.
well, what's even worse is they're not paying attention to you because we're talking, right? I don't hear what you're saying.
9 times out of 10, they don't listen anyway.
Yeah. Well, there is another alternative.
Hey, I wasn't talking.
Well, okay, I want to talk about, there is a 14-minute video about this, but there's a couple highlights, things that I learned as I made the video. The first thing that happens is when I talk to Mike here, I have one level of volume. If I'm talking to, I forgot your name, sir. Larry, unconsciously, I start to increase the volume a bit, but my mouth opens wider. I articulate better. My enunciation improves only because I'm talking to him. And even with microphones, when you talk to the guy furthest away from you, your speaking is clearer to the entire group of people. I didn't ever realize that I was doing that. That's one. Two is when you get to microphones, you know, in the old days, you always had the mic sitting there. You didn't have to worry about it. Now I've seen cases, myself included, the first time people started to mic me, I said, oh, I don't want that. I don't need that. I talk loud enough. Well, you don't realize that half of your audience has hearing issues. So anything that you can do to help them hear, you need to do. And part of that is having microphones. And the microphones, you got various types. You got what's called a lapel mic. Lapel mic looks like this. And it goes right here. But the problem is with wood turning is that if I do this, my whisker scratches get onto the AV, onto the audio. If I put it underneath my coat, or if I move, I start to get rough into the audio, both of which are bad. The final problem with it is that as I move and I go closer and further away from the microphone, the volume level on the amplification changes. So the gold standard is what I'm wearing, which is an over-the-ear microphone, because it holds the mic close to my mouth at a constant distance. If I put it on a face shield, what I discovered was different configurations of face shield will have different levels of echo. This kind of a microphone pickup, which is right here by the mouth, is good. This kind of a shield, which is a flat shield, is pretty good. But a bubble shield, echoes are much, much worse. Back to hearing problems. It isn't volume, it's echoes. Right? So if you can keep the echoes out, your audience hears you better. You got to get used to this. How does it go on? It goes on over your ears. So this is what it is. Slips up over your ears. The mic is on the left side. You want to have it a reasonable difference from a distance from your mouth. You don't want it to touch the face shield. I know this sounds simple, but until you've used one a bit, you're not familiar with it and you're not comfortable. So you put your glasses on, you're good to go. That help? All right, here are the key takeaways that I really hope you take home. One thing is that demonstrating makes you a better turner. You do get a benefit out of it. I mean, as I put together this demonstration on demonstrations, I've learned a lot that I was doing, didn't know it. I'm better at it now because I've gotten feedback about some of the things I've said and not said. So I've actually become a better demonstrator for stepping up and giving a demonstration, and you will too. There is some payback to you. And remember, it's not about how good you are. You know, it's not about how many awards you won. You know, it's not about all that. It's about your audience, right? If you think about your audience and if you're trying to project your learning, your skill set onto your audience, you're going to have a good demonstration. People respond to that. They get it. They feel it. It's very important that you figure out your natural style. Now, you've seen me do a lot of things, a lot of various demonstrations, speaking techniques that I've exaggerated many times on purpose. All right? Watch the video, look at the information, pick out those points that are natural to you and to you. Don't do what I did. Do what's natural to you. Pick from the supermarket and make it your own demonstration style. The other thing, there's too much information that I just presented in this last hour and 56 minutes. No, hour and 37 minutes, all right? Go back and look at the handouts. Watch the video when I'll get this up probably, I don't know how long, a week, 10 days, it'll be up on my channel. But the last thing to remember, and probably the most important thing, is the wood turning is taught by wood turners. You know, you are needed for the next generation. You know, take this seriously. You have an impact in what happens and evolves within the wood turning community. You are important. Do the best you can. Thank you very much. And I ended 2 minutes early.